Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I had a long weekend. I took Monday and Tuesday off, and I played Monster Hunter the entire time.
Sounds good.
Yeah, new Monster Hunter came out for the Switch, and I had taken the days off and didn't realize what day exactly. I didn't remember what day exactly the game came out, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh, that it came out on the Friday before the Monday and Tuesday that I took off. So I ended up playing Monster Hunter the entire time.
Well, good for you.
And it was great. It's a great game. Anybody who if anybody out there who plays Monster Hunter games that is on the fence about Rise, I say get it.
Cool.
How about you?
I can't be too judgmental because I have also been taking off the last several days, and my wife has been out of town, so it's basically just been me and the animals. And so I also pretty much entirely spent that time playing video games. Nothing new though. I was playing Sekiro.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's been nice, but at the same time, I wish I would have gotten stuff done, but I've still got a few more days. Still got a few more days before I go back to work.
Getting stuff done is overrated.
Yeah, I guess.
Play video games.
Yeah.
Rest is stuff. Rest is a thing you do. That's getting stuff done.
I guess.
Yeah.
I 3D printed another Tarrasque. I'm pretty sure a few weeks ago I talked about 3D printing a Tarrasque from Lords of the Print.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I printed before was just at the base size that the files came in, and it was a little shrimpy. Technically it is the correct size category because Gargantuan in 5th edition is just anything that is 4 squares or more.
Right.
I printed one that was at 150% scale, so it's 50% in every direction. So 50% bigger in every direction. So it's actually quite a bit larger, volume wise. And it looks fantastic. I mean, we were talking before recording about some of the tolerances for fitting the pieces together. Leave a little something to be desired, but it's such a good looking print. I can't get over how fantastic it looks.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
3D printing.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I also, I went to our local gaming store the other day, a store called Pandemonium.
Right.
And, I was just thinking, I haven't been to Pandemonium in a while, and I didn't have anything else to do. So I figured I would swing by and just see what stuff they had. And one thing that I bought, and I will, full disclosure, I bought it using Patreon funds because it is gaming related. And whenever I'm able to get a game going, it can provide some ambiance.
Right. If anything, it's also helping support our local gaming stores, which help support our,
That's even better.
Yeah.
But I bought it's a Hand and Eye of Vecna. There's a company called WizKids that makes various props or trophies of D&D related stuff. And I thought it looked really good. I had some issues when it came with no instructions. Cause what instructions does it need? It's basically just a hand that sits in a glass case, but there's a stand that comes with it. And then a cloth that goes over the stand. And supposedly there's a way to get the eye to it's supposed to be holding the eye in its fingers, but there wasn't room. The finger, the hand is resin, so I don't want to bend it. And one video that I had to watch videos to find out how do I get this thing to stay together. One video that I saw, the guy said that it was magnetic. If it's magnetic, they forgot to put the magnets in mine because there's no magnetism whatsoever for me. So I just have the eye sitting next to it instead of between the fingers.
Right.
But I think it looks great. It's a great little decoration. I love Halloween themed stuff. So I'm sure my wife doesn't mind having it as a result. So
right. Yeah. She loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But it's cool. We had some Patreon funds saved up for a while. So I figured, find a way to spend some of it.
Sure.
God forbid I pay myself or you for recording the podcast.
Yeah, no. This is better. There is something to be said about supporting the especially these days, like supporting local
Yes.
game stores is important.
Yeah.
So thank you, patrons, for helping
Yes.
support our local gaming store.
There you go. You're supporting us to support them.
Yeah.
I guess. I guess you got anything else going on, or do you want to jump into this episode?
No, that's about it. Let's get going.
Oh, one thing I should say. So last week was our April Fool's episode.
Oh, right.
It was a lot of fun to make. I think we've gotten pretty much entirely positive feedback on it. A couple people had issue with our coverage of D&D Beyond.
Okay,
I understand.
Sure.
I understand we did not do a very good job of representing it. That was partly the point, and also I don't even know what my defense is, but partly the point. I thought it would be funny if we had a question about D&D Beyond where we were trashing it and then immediately followed it up with a presumably paid ad for D&D Beyond.
Right, yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah, it was the...
In retrospect, we could have done a better job of representing it while also maintaining the joke, but
yeah,
we didn't. Apologies. Hey,
Whoops.
hey, D&D Beyond people, if you're out there, sorry.
I
guess. No publicity's bad publicity. I don't know.
No, we have nothing against people who use D&D Beyond.
Well, I mean, like on our Discord, Damien explained that we got some of the pricing wrong. The pricing is actually a lot better than I was explaining it to be.
Oh,
So-
okay. Well, that's good.
So just full disclosure, yes, I am aware that we did misrepresent it, but
Sure.
that wasn't really a huge concern of mine. But yeah, no, that was actually I had that idea to do an episode like that last year, but it ended up being a lot of work, and I didn't even want to do any of that work last year, so we did something else instead that was a lot less work intensive.
Sure.
But no, this year it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. I'm very happy with how that episode turned out.
What did we do last year?
We did the backwards episode.
Oh, right.
Yeah. If any of our patrons want, I will be putting up on the Patreon both the episode with no ads, so you can listen to the whole episode with no ads. And also I'm going to be putting up each of the commercials individually. So if you wanted to just listen to the stamps.com ad or Cantrip Candles ad or something, or the one about dogs, several people said that the dogs ad was their favorite ad.
It's amazing.
My wife was very happy to hear that.
It's an absolutely brilliant thing. I loved it.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to any of those individually, they will be up on the Patreon. Let's get into this episode. All right. So Jeff, I want you to imagine that you are looking for a piece of treasure.
Yeah.
Or something. And somebody tells you that, I don't know, Thognor the blacksmith can tell you how to get there.
Okay.
So you go into the smithy and you see, what did I say his name was? Thognor or something. You see whoever this blacksmith is, and you try to get his attention, but every time you say something, you hear that ka-tang, ka-tang, ka-tang. He's hammering something, and you finally get his attention, but he doesn't stop hammering, and you're like, hey, excuse, ka-tang, what's that? Ka-tang, I can't hear you, ka-tang, and so you're trying to get him to tell you where this treasure is located, and now while he's talking, he's still ka-tang. He's like, oh, it's at the ka-tang. You can find it ka-tang. Be sure to ka-tang. And so you finally get him to stop what he's doing, and he throws down his hammer, and he angrily yells, like after having said it several times, he angrily yells at you, I said it's in the dragon's hoard. That's the intro. That's the intro for today. So today's magic item was submitted by Larry D via email, and the item is the Scolding Tongs.
Ooh.
Said to be the discarded tongs of a smith god, it has been fashioned into a set of bracelets. This is an attuned item, and it says 2 uses. I think there's a way to recharge it in a second. So let's just say 2 uses ever, I think is maybe what they intended. So 2 uses. When you use it, doesn't say what kind of an action it is, but if you're a caster and you cast a fire spell, you add 50% damage to a fire spell that you cast.
Ooh.
If you are not a caster, you gain 1d10 fire damage to all of your weapon attacks for a number of rounds equal to your charisma modifier.
Dang.
So yeah, if you're casting fireball, you can do 1.5 times 8d6 or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're a fighter, each of your attacks gets a d10 fire damage for, you're a fighter, so let's be generous, 1 round. But then you can recharge this. So I said 2 uses, but then you can recharge it by placing it in a fire for 1 hour. So I think that's why they didn't say like per day or whatever. It's you can use it twice, and then you put it in the fire for an hour, and then you get 2 more uses, I guess.
Right. Yeah, like some magical stuff will have like charges, and then like the charges, like it's so many charges recharge per like. I don't know if it's actually in the descriptions, but I feel like there's something to do with like actual like day-night cycle. It's not just per day. It's like every day at dawn or something.
Yeah, I think there are a few in the DMG that recharge at dawn.
Yeah.
I feel like there might even be an official one in there that is like when you bathe it in moonlight or something.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. So this isn't an unheard of type of mechanic.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty neat mechanic right there. The what it does, you know, the 50% fire damage or the damage added to your attacks.
Yeah,
and such.
Like, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You only get the two uses out of it before you have to put it in fire for an hour. So it's not like you can use it more than twice in one battle.
Sure.
And you know, it's possible you might not get a chance to use it more than twice in a session.
That's true.
So it's not like it's definitely powerful, but I don't think it'd be game breakingly powerful, even if like they go out of their way to put it in the fire as much as they possibly could.
Sure.
Like I don't think it's gonna be too crazy. At least at the level, at like a higher level.
Yeah, it's definitely like rare or very rare. Level. It's not legendary or anything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is this your note with the
Oh no, that's actually from Larry D. So there's an additional little note in here. Considered a curse effect to provide ability to overuse. That's something I did want to see if we had any thoughts on that.
Sure.
So if there were a way that you could use it more than 2 times, but there were some sort of a negative effect that happened when you did, what are some ideas for doing so?
Sure. Actually, when I first read that, I think I just read it because I was thinking like it might have a curse just because it is so reusable and it is powerful. Maybe put a curse on it just to kind of balance it out a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. That's interesting too.
But like I said, it's not like game breaking. It's
Sure.
like it's definitely really powerful. It is a nuke option for like a fire mage or something like that. So
yeah.
it's pretty cool. But like I was thinking. I don't know, my mind went to like having to put it into certain types of fire. Like it can't just be any fire. It can't be like a campfire. It's got to be hot enough that you would be able to forge something in.
Yeah.
So you would have to take it to a smithy or something and like say like and be like, hey, I need to borrow your forge for a minute.
Yeah.
For an hour, really. So. Or maybe like different types of fire might have different effects on it. Like if you can somehow bathe it in dragon fire, it can maybe be more powerful.
I love this idea, Jeff.
Might get an extra charge out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
if
maybe
you drop it into like a volcano, something.
Ooh, yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be real cool.
Yeah. I really like this item, and I will just say that if I were to give it a curse effect to let you use it more than 2 times, assuming that is what Larry D was asking, I would say maybe like you can do it more than 2 times, but if you do, you take the extra damage too.
Sure, yeah, not
so
the
like
full damage, but the extra damage, yeah.
Yeah, so you take the D10 fire damage every round, or you take, actually per attack maybe.
Right.
But then also if you're the caster. You shoot a fireball, you're taking half of the fireball damage.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's good.
Yeah. I love any item that is essentially it belonged to a god and now it has a little lingering remnant of that god's power.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I actually like about the Hand and Eye of Vecna, and here's a crazy thing. So I showed this to my wife today,
Yep.
And she was like, she saw the hand, it was like a mummified hand, but then she saw there's this eye, and she was like, so what's the deal with the eye? What is it? And I was like, oh my goodness, I have an opportunity to tell Lisa a D&D thing. And so I told her, there's this god Vecna, and one of his lieutenants betrayed him, cut off his hand, cut out his eye, and then his hand and eye are out there in the world. And if someone were to attach them to themselves, they would gain some of that god's power. And that along with this, seeing this item today, I was like, I really like that in media. I love when that's part of the backstory of something.
Yeah.
There's a sci-fi miniseries that we have watched and that we have talked about in the past. I've watched several times. It's called The Lost Room.
Oh, yeah.
It's about, it's modern day. These people find these seemingly everyday objects that have these supernatural powers. There's like a pen that if you touch something, it fries it like a microwave. There's a key that can open any door into this extra dimensional space. And one of the theories in the fiction is that there's a group of people that think that God died and these objects are pieces of his corpse or pieces of his essence or something.
Right.
And, spoilers, they never say whether that is true or not. They leave it ambiguous enough that the viewer is still able to draw their own conclusions. But I love that in fiction. I love that as a theory. I love that as an element in a story. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. That's definitely like that's a heat-seeking missile straight for my heart. If you want something, if you put something like that in media, I will probably like it.
Yeah.
So.
And I like the idea of like, it's not even something like crazy important to the deity. It's just a pair of tongs. Like, he's a god of blacksmiths or something, but like it's just some tongs. Like his anvil or his hammer, definitely important, but like the tongs, sure. Like those are useful. Those are an important tool to a blacksmith, but like it's not like the most important thing.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of like, it's just sort of like this it's just like this disposable thing to a god, but then it's become this very powerful item to mortals.
Sure.
I think that's cool.
So Larry D, good job. Knocked out of the park with this one. This is a great item.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard for today. So once again, thank you, Larry D, via email for sending that in. And that was the Scolding Tongs. So Jeff, if anybody else wanted to be like Larry D and submit a magic item for the Dragon's Hoard, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, retirement village, or whatever else, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And just to be clear, it does not cost money to submit anything to us. That was a last minute addition to the podcast.
Right, yeah.
to last episode of the podcast. So next up, like we have been doing, we have a giveaway to give away today.
Mm-hmm.
We are giving away a copy of 3 supplements from Crit Academy. We're giving away the Warmind, the Skybreaker, and the Werecat, 2 class options and 1 race option from Crit Academy for 5th edition D&D. Some great supplements on here. We're giving away a copy of those. Who is our winner of these Crit 3 supplements today?
Today's winner is Doug A.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Doug A. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't get anything within the next week, I guess, let us know. And be sure to leave Crit Academy a review. I checked, and each of these you can leave a review for each individual one. So,
cool.
Please do so. I mean, at least leave one of them. Hopefully, once you get in there, you'll see it as, an opportunity to leave all 3. So hopefully you'll leave all 3. But the more reviews they get, the more attention they get, and also the more they can know to improve stuff in the future. So, thank you to Crit Academy for facilitating this great giveaway. Good job, Doug A. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to be like Doug A and they wanted to win a free copy of these great supplements, how would they enter the drawing?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Crit 3 in the subject line.
That's correct. And next up, I want to tell everybody about our Patreon. We had a commercial for our Patreon in the last episode, and I really enjoyed it. And I've had a couple listeners tell me they really enjoy it too. I might try to find a way to actually use that in every episode, because I think I made it as a joke. Like, there's another podcast that does that for their Patreon episodes. And so I was very much copying them, but like once I got it finished, I was like, this is actually a pretty good commercial. So I don't know. I
just start throwing that in instead of doing the normal spiel.
Maybe. The thing is, it was a lot of work to come up with a clip to put in there. And to actually go through, like if we were to do that every month, like for me to go and look for a bit in the episode that sounds like a good representation of that episode, it'd be a little bit of work. Maybe I'll start doing it. I don't know. We'll see when we record our next bonus episode. Anyway, Patreon is an online platform. You can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. In this case, hopefully us. And if you go to ours at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict, we've got a few different tiers. We've got outtakes. We've got a ton of outtakes. We've got fantasy fiction that I've written. We've got a monthly bonus podcast, InterPatron-Conflict. The one that we did last month was about commercials, actually. There was a lot of layers that went into this ad-based April Fool's episode.
Yeah.
We've also got on the top tier, we got a Roll20 game. We just did our Roll20 game a few days ago, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff on there, a ton of rewards. So go check that out. Once again, it's patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Even $1 a month will go towards helping the show, and you'll get some cool stuff in return. So, a big thank you to everybody who has donated. If you can't, no worries. Don't worry, worry about yourself first. If you got some money left over and you want to throw it our way, we are super appreciative.
Yeah.
So yeah, big, huge thank you to everybody who has donated to us. You guys are awesome. Everybody, even just for listening, you guys are awesome too. So check out our Patreon. Next up, one more thing, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Austin make new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They've got an extra episode or two out so far. Also check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They're an actual play podcast. And The Kind GM. It's another advice podcast. So go check those all out. Great stuff on this network. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
All right. Our first question comes from Flash85 on Discord. And they ask, when you roll damage for a spell, do you roll multiple dice or do you roll one and multiply it?
Yes. So this question came up specifically about Magic Missile.
Okay.
But I figured, we could use it to discuss other spells as well. So let's say you're casting Fireball. Fireball in 5th edition does 8d6 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Do you roll 8 6-sided dice? Or do you roll 1 6-sided die and then multiply it 8 times?
I'm pretty I don't know for 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure the rule is you roll 8 dice.
Correct. I mean, that is the rule.
Okay.
I have played with people, like, for example, when I played with Chris.
Dang.
Their group, at the time at least, they would roll 1 die and then just multiply it however many times. And on one hand, that's awesome when you roll a 6. Like,
sure.
Heck yeah, I just did max damage. Who needs maximize spell, dude? I have a 1 in 6 chance of doing maximum damage as it is.
Right.
But
you also have a 1 in 6 chance of doing minimum damage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
Because the thing with when you roll 8 6-sided dice, you are very, very, very likely to get very close to 24 damage on an 8d6.
Mm-hmm.
You will very likely get something close to that. So when you roll 1d6 and then you multiply it by 8, you have an equal chance of getting 48, 40, 32, 24, 16, and 8. You have an equal chance of getting each of those. So the intention is, I believe in the rules, the intention is for you to get close to the middle every time. Same thing with rolling for stats. You could roll, okay, some people roll a d20 for their stats, and those people are insane. But imagine you had an 18-sided die. You could roll an 18-sided die to determine your stats, but you're just as likely to get a 1 as you are to get an 18. When you roll 3d6, it's possible to get an 18. It's possible to get a 3, but most of the time you're going to get a 10 or an 11. And that's why 10 or 11 is the human average.
Right.
So the game usually intends for you to get somewhere around the middle. The That being said, there are a lot of other RPGs where you roll like 2 or 3 d6 for everything, whereas in D&D you roll 1 d20. So it's a little weird how D&D is so big on rolling one large die for all of your attacks and skills and so on, whereas so many other other RPGs like GURPS and such are intended for you to much more often get around the middle. Like in GURPS, when you get a crit, it's way rarer than in a D20 system. Because in D&D, you're probably going to make 20 rolls in a game session. So it's likely you're going to get a crit every session or more.
Right.
In GURPS, you're not, because it's, you're rolling 3d6. So how often are you going to roll, I think it's actually 3 ones is a crit. Anyway, so the D&D is primarily meant for certain things like this, meant for you to get around the middle. So if your group wants to do roll 1 and then multiply by 8 or whatever, you can. Just be aware that it's going to be a lot of fun sometimes and a lot of not fun other times.
Yeah. There's also the upside of like you don't have to count out all the dice.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you're only rolling 1 dice, you're like, oh, I got a 6. Cool. And you don't have to be like, all right, I got 2 5s, a 6, a 3, a 1, and add it all together.
Yeah.
It's easier to just do a quick, 2-number multiplication rather than having to add 8 numbers together.
Sure.
But I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's a preference. I feel like in certain situations, like I'd probably want to favor the rule.
Yeah.
But I guess for damage, it's really up to the team. It's up to the group.
Sure. Personally, I would prefer to roll all the dice. Number one, because rolling dice is fun.
Yeah. That's the upshot. Like, the upshot of only rolling 1 dice is you only have to do the 1 math.
Yeah.
But the upshot of rolling all those all the dice, like, it's so much fun when you're that spellcaster who is just shooting that huge fireball and you just got like a fistful of D6s and you're just like, yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Now, the reason that this question came up, though, was specifically about Magic Missile. Magic Missile is kind of a weird case because I think this was in response to a Sage Advice question. Mm-hmm. And the question was, when you cast Magic Missile, do you roll 1d4 plus 1 and then multiply it by how many darts you sent? Or do you roll each one individually? And I believe the Sage Advice was you roll it once, because here's the thing. Here's why this is a weird case. With Fireball, you're rolling 8d6. You don't roll 8d6 for each person that you hit. You roll 8d6 once, and then that same amount of damage hits everybody. Okay. So the rule in the book is, if you're hitting multiple people with a spell, you roll the damage dice. You roll whatever the dice are 1 time and then apply it to every person you hit. Magic Missile is a spell that can hit multiple people, but isn't guaranteed to hit multiple people. So by the rules, you would roll, quote unquote, the damage, which is 1d4 plus 1. And then you would multiply it by however many people you hit with the spell. So let's say you have 3 darts, you shoot 3 people with them. You would still only roll 1, just like you were casting a fireball that only did 1d4 plus 1. However, it's different in that you can send multiple darts at a single person. So that means you could hit one person twice and one person once or more or whatever. So is it still the same thing? I feel I think it's natural for people to roll each individual die and then say, okay, this person got hit by, rolls the die, 3 damage. The next person gets hit by 2 damage, rolls the die. The next one gets hit by 5 damage. I feel like that is the most natural, and that's probably what most people do.
Yeah.
So it was really weird when the Sage Advice comes out and it's like, well, no, technically you roll it once.
Yeah. Like, I guess I see it either way.
Yeah.
Like, I was definitely of the mind you roll a die for each bolt.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're separate bolts.
Yeah,
but
that's how we've always done it.
But the thing is like Magic Missile there's no attack roll.
Yeah.
You just cast it. Same with, but there's no save either.
Correct.
You just cast it and it hits. Like that's the thing about Magic Missile is it's a surefire way to do something.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're not like resistant to magic damage or something.
Or if they have shield.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. But yeah, because like Magic Missile is a spell, or Fireball is a spell that like it just does damage, but then they do a save to take like half damage or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I guess in the way that it works, Magic Missile is closer to Fireball than it is like a Melf's Acid Arrow.
Sure. Sure.
Because it's yes, there's no save, but it is basically just, okay, here's some damage. Here's a spell that does some damage. Do what you can to mitigate it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I'm guessing. I don't know I can't remember if Melf's Acid Arrow is a save or I feel like it's an attack roll.
It used to be an attack roll. I will check and see what the 5th edition version is.
In any case, I'm pretty sure. No, I can't think of it. Like Firebolt is an attack roll, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, Melf's Acid Arrow is an attack roll.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so like that's an attack roll. It's a different thing. It's like you're attacking and then like you're going against their AC, and then you roll damage versus something like a Fireball where you roll that damage whether when you cast it you're gonna roll that damage whether it affects them or not.
Yeah, actually, weird thing about Melf's Acid Arrow, if you miss, it still does half damage.
Well, Gabe,
because it splashes the. No, I'm sorry. It's just that's a cool feature of that spell.
That is a cool feature. You're right.
Here's the thing, Magic Missile is kind of the culprit here because it functions one way mechanically, but thematically makes you think it's something else. Back in 3rd edition, I remember seeing a discussion forum post, and this is something that 100% applies in 5th edition, or somebody could have this same reaction in 5th edition. They were saying, why is it, so we were facing an enemy with a super high AC, and I'm playing the Ranger, I've got a super high attack bonus, and, I roll a 19 or something, and I still don't hit the guy. But then the Wizard is able to cast Magic Missile, and the Magic Missile just hits him no problem. How is that? And of course, I know multiple reasons why this this is the wrong, why this happens. But somebody gave the response. The problem is that Magic Missile is envisioned as a projectile. If it was, instead of being called Magic Missile, it was called Vader's Force Choke. And it's not that you are shooting a projectile that hits this target. It's just that you're aiming your hand at them and suddenly their insides get crushed by your magic.
Sure.
Nobody would be like, well, wait a minute. How come you don't have to roll to hit his AC, but I do? Because it's not a projectile. Similarly, if you cast a Fireball that only did 1d4 damage, 1d4 plus 1 damage, and if you shot it into a group of people, you could choose 3 targets to be hurt by it. Everybody else, it would go around them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a lot easier to imagine it as 1 damage roll that just gets applied to all of them, right?
Right.
And then maybe something like some of the fire, you can have it bounce back and hit somebody who's already hit by it or something. I don't know. But because it is flavored as a projectile, an individual projectile, it feels like it should have different rules than the rest of it feels like it should have different rules than area spells. It is different than an area spell, but not necessarily in all the ways that you might think.
Yeah, because you can hit anybody that's within range of you, so it's kind of like a burst effect.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Man, could you imagine somebody with like 100-foot range burst attack, but it only hits 3 people?
Sure, yeah. So I don't know, but Magic Missile is sort of like this, it's the first level Fireball. Like it's a signature of the game, Like
sure.
Like there's memes about it, like It's like it has to be in there. You can't have D&D without magic missile or fireball.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And I did not realize that they intended it to be rolled once and then applied to however many targets.
To be fair, I don't care what the sage advice said. I don't think it was intended to do that at all. That's just what the rules are currently.
Sure. Yeah.
There's always this hesitance to put in a rule that specifically calls out a situation, because like you don't want to just, if you tried to cover every possible situation in the rule book's going to be 10,000 pages long. But for a spell that is very common, it had to have come up in playtesting.
Sure.
Couldn't hurt to, even in the magic missile description, to be like, roll each die individually.
Right. Yeah. I guess that, yeah, that specifically wouldn't have been, too difficult to be like, all right, well, let's just clarify this. Yeah. But who knows? I don't know. Game design is difficult. Like,
right.
And like it's not, it's difficult when there's only a few people doing it, and it's difficult when there's a ton of people doing it, all with different visions. So
sure. Yeah. And I mean, hey, you can play it however you want. Go ahead and roll each individual die or each individual dart separately. Roll them all together. Do whatever you want. Nothing is going to be affected by it. Just do whatever goes most smoothly in your group.
Our next question comes from Beautiful Bluebird 48 on Reddit, and they ask. We have to do this one, Gabe. We have to do this question.
Go for it.
Gabe, if I polymorph someone into a cow, milk the cow, and then they turn back to normal, what happens to the milk?
I'm glad that this is the example that they chose for this problem. There are a lot of other things that could have been.
Sure.
Could have been used as an example, but this is the one they chose. So.
This one is also problematic, but just it's just a hair not over the line.
Let's assume that this is a willing participant.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
A wizard wanted to see what happens. They were like, "Hey, fighter, let's do some science."
Oh God. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I know what would happen.
Okay, you brought it. When we brought it up earlier before we started the episode, you seemed like you had a very easy answer.
I was like, this is going to be an easy one to cover, but we can have some fun with it. And you were like,
I don't know. I don't know if this is that easy, but go ahead. What is your answer to this?
I think specifically I said it has a simple answer, and you were like, does it have a simple answer?
Sure.
The milk remains.
Okay.
It remains as milk. It doesn't turn into something else. It doesn't disappear. It's just there.
Yeah. Okay.
The magic form they were in created milk, and then that milk is still milk.
Okay. Well, but is it still cow's milk? Gabe, this is what I'm saying. It's not simple.
I have to ask a question, and I hate that I'm going to ask this question. If it wasn't cow's milk, whose milk would it be?
It would be the milk of whoever. Okay. So if it's humans are mammals. They have mammary glands. They make milk. Okay. So it'd be human. It could be human milk. But okay, what if they polymorphed, say, a dragonborn into a cow? The cow made milk. The cow turned back into a dragonborn. What would it be? Would it still be milk?
I mean, I say yes, but if it was something else, that's a cool thing to explore. If a dragonborn turns into a cow and then, creates what eventually becomes, I guess, like half dragon milk, which or whatever.
Gabe, I know what it would be. It'd be yolk.
It'd be yolk?
Yep, like egg yolk.
Oh, jeez. Well, hang on a minute. Lizards don't eat yolk. They don't feed their young yolk.
Yes, they do.
Do they?
Because the young, while in the egg, feed off of the yolk.
Oh boy. Okay.
So that is what I would feel like is the equivalent.
I feel like, okay, we're maybe a couple weeks late. This is probably an appropriate time to be discussing this with so much talk of lizard folk mammaries on the internet lately.
Is that a thing?
That was on Reddit. That was a big thing for like 2 weeks. That was like the big topic was do lizard folk. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, and that's come up in the past before, where like, dragon, like deviant art of
exactly.
dragonborn and lizard folk. Usually, like females have mammaries, and it's like that. No, but live your dream, but also no.
But the idea of them creating yolk is whether it is I'm big air quotes here, whether it is scientifically accurate or not, that is so much more disgusting to me than milk. I don't know why, but it just is. It is, and it definitely is. I don't know why, but it definitely is.
Oh God, I apologize. I just.
Geez, I might need to put an explicit tag on this
Right,
one.
yeah, I was about to suggest. No, it's not that bad.
No.
But it's... Okay, I feel like the answer should be simple. It's just, It's still just cow milk. Just go with that. Go with that. It is
magic. It is literally magic.
It's magic. It's magic milk. Just go with that. But also it might be yolk. I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules. Your group makes the rules. You make the rules.
So this actually makes me think of something. I remember back when I first started playing D&D with Steve, he told me a story. I think the other person in the story might have been Bridget. This was a story from before Steve and I met. And Steve was saying that he was playing D&D with his group at the time, and I think it was Steve, polymorphed into a bird, and his character had like a big bag of like alchemist fire or something. And he polymorphed into a bird and then flew over the enemy encampment and then had his bird poop on the enemy encampment. And then the DM in question, the DM at the time, I believe was Bridget. I could be wrong. The DM ruled that, quote unquote, pooping as the bird equated to dropping the giant bag of alchemist fires.
Oh, okay.
And so by going to the bathroom on this enemy encampment, it blew them all up.
Sure.
I could see someone making that ruling as a way to be like, oh, this is a fun way to bypass an encounter. Go for it. Yeah, it works. I would never rule that way personally. I think that when you do that, you're opening the door to so many other things.
Right. Yeah.
But, kind of similarly, what if you did put rules into your game where if someone is polymorphed and part of their body is removed, like, because, hey, let's say you cut off, they turn into a cow, you cut off their tail or something.
Mm-hmm.
You could rule that anything removed from your body reverts back to something that was on your person. Maybe a part of your body, maybe a piece of equipment, because all your equipment melds into your new form. So there is a space to rule that you could remove part of your quote unquote body and have it be removing part of the equipment or something.
Yeah.
So maybe you really need to get a healing potion to somebody, but you're in cow form. And so you just run over and squirt an udder in there.
Oh no.
That's not unheard of. That's not impossible. That would not be a terrible ruling. It would be a terrible judgment call, I would say. With terrible implications. But I mean, hey, if that's something that at the moment will provide a bit of fun in your game, go for it.
Right. That does bring up a weird thing. It's like, yeah, if you cut off their tail and they revert back, like what's missing? Like they don't have, if they didn't have a tail to begin with, I think, well, it depends on the edition and exactly how like the polymorph rules work.
Sure.
Like, so if you lose hit points in the form and then you revert back, like I don't think you are missing any in 5th edition. I don't think you're missing any hit points.
Right. Only if you took enough damage to take you below 0, and then that extra damage gets applied to you.
Right. Yes. So yeah. So like, I guess if your tail got cut off, but then again, there's not really rules for like, there's no easy rules for like losing limbs anyway.
Right. Yeah, for that reason, like for those reasons you just said, I really think that the quote unquote best answer is that it's just magic. Like no part of you gets lost. If you lose your tail, that was that was a cow's tail or whatever. If you're a halfling and you turn into a bull or something, you're gaining mass. Where's the mass coming from? The answer is literally magic. So, if losing a limb as a cow, you might lose your character's entire weight in leg as a cow. So what happens when you revert back, So yeah. The only solution that makes consistent sense in my mind is that your magic, your form you turned into is physically all there. It is its own thing. Magic turned you into it. Magic will turn you back out of it. You aren't missing anything that you lost when you were in the other form.
Yeah. I feel like the easiest best way to do it is the milk disappears.
Okay.
Just because like it is a huge, it's going to be a huge can of worms. I mean, I guess you can keep worms in a bag.
I guess it's just as good as using a can, I guess.
Yeah, live your dream. It's your life. So, because like free milk, that free milk turns into free eggs, turns into free. All you gotta do is cast polymorph so many times a day, and you got yourself a business. Like I make these eggs myself. Like
yeah, I mean, but Jeff, if you have access to 4th level spells,
I guess
there's so many other businesses you could open.
But it's like, but where does it end though?
Yeah. I understand.
It's soon you're gonna be trading like mayonnaise for crime. I don't know.
Yep, that's true.
I just don't. I feel like it's like, I guess you're right. Because of the level of the spell. Like there's really easier ways to do stuff like that. But permanent effects.
Yeah,
should be hard to come by. And I feel like that's because it is a permanent effect. It can be exploited in some way, even if that way is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's more fun if you have a jug of your own cow, like your self-made cow milk, and you're like, no, it's good.
You just got me to come around, Jeff. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, maybe that explicit tag is not a bad idea.
I think you're right in that there is no. It's not a simple answer.
It's not a simple answer. Could turn into yolk. Could just disappear.
Oh boy.
Okay, the extreme.
I think that'll do it for that question.
Okay.
So that's it for our regular questions. We do still have our social media questions though. Maybe that should be a social media question.
Oh God.
No, I that's enough. I do not want any more discussion about this
You're right.
on our podcast.
No, yeah, let's nip that.
All right. Our last social media question was, does your group use any custom or homebrew critical hit rules? Do you recall if you had an answer, Jeff?
I went with no, just because I feel like it adds too much room for crappy situations for the player versus
So over on Facebook, Sean M says, I used to try them out. I also had a mystery box purchase that had a Pathfinder critical fumble card set. I quickly realized it only helps the monsters. Somebody I know was saying something like that. A guaranteed hit is a guaranteed hit, an extra damage dice in 5th edition. That said, I've taken up Matt Mercer's How Do You Want to Do This? To give players a chance to make up some thematic cool action. And I mean, if you want to let players narrate how their critical hits go, as long, if they killed the thing, let them go hog wild, I guess, with the narration.
Right.
Bridget P, actually, we were just talking about her a couple minutes ago. said, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Well, not exactly. I was thinking about custom critical fumble rules. One of my longtime friends and players likes to complain about how it's silly that a high-level character, essentially a world-renowned expert, can automatically fail at things. And in some instances, I think it made sense. Nothing in life is guaranteed, but I was thinking about ideas about making natural ones a sort of success with complications. If the 1+ relevant bonuses should normally succeed, I think it should succeed, but with a caveat. If it's an attack, maybe give the player a choice. You do half damage, or you do normal damage, but you fall prone. Or you do normal damage, but you're disarmed, etc. If it's a skill check, you succeed, but suffer damage, if that makes sense for the skill in question. Or you damage any toolkit that was being used, etc. Or instead of having the choice, maybe you roll for the additional effect instead. So, yeah, I think that, especially in the case of a natural one, well, my modifier would still be high enough to hit. I think that's something you could do. Still let it hit, but have some other kind of complication,
It made me think, like, maybe have it be a treat and, like, a 1 is also an automatic hit, but it also damages you for the full amount.
Okay. I mean, like, I still think that falls prey to a lot of the problems with critical hits in general. Like a high-level fighter is going to be doing that way more often than a low-level fighter, and also way more often than any level spellcaster. That's just one of the problems inherent in critical hits is they inordinately affect people who roll more dice, and higher-level melee or higher-level attack roll people are going to be critically fumbling so much more than everybody else.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. Over on Reddit, Alstar the Minotaur says, we use a critical hit deck. It's definitely saved my party's bacon a couple times, but also has bitten them in the butt a couple times. During one particularly tough fight, they managed to get the Broken Spine critical, reducing an enemy's dex by 2d6 on the heavy plate wearing warrior. Of course, they rolled boxcars, and he collapsed in a heap like a dead fish, removing him from combat despite having most of his health left. So yeah, that one completely invalidated that enemy. So that could be good, but then really the end result is it just ended the fight a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
If that happened to a player and if it was a permanent effect, oh boy.
Yeah.
Pruno says, I punish my players when they roll multiple critical fumbles. How will they ever learn to roll better if they're not punished? Yeah. Okay.
You roll better.
Right. How dare you not be good at random chance? And Arcanist Winterbrand says, one group I play with occasionally has a home crit rule that states, on a critical hit, the attack does the maximum total on the dice plus the standard roll for the attack. That gives crit an extra boost and prevents a low or even minimum roll. And yeah, that's a very common one. I don't think we've ever talked about doing this in our Roll20 games, but if our Roll20 players did want to do this is one I'm totally on board with. Because if you roll double damage, you can still roll ones. You can still do less damage on a critical than you could have done on a regular hit. So making it so that you do maximum damage plus one additional roll instead of 2 rolls, both of which could be low.
Yeah.
I can understand that. That's a common one. Over on Twitter, Adventure Public Radio says, in the past I've used critical hit cards, but they swing the battles a little too much. It's all fun and games until this single skeleton gets a 3x crit on level 2 PCs. And sorry, that was actually signed DM Zach. So thank you, DM Zach. That's Carl with a K says, we use the advice given by Justin. Instead of rolling double dice, they get 1 full damage dice plus modifiers, then they roll for the second damage dice. That way they actually do some damage instead of possibly losing on a double 1 roll. Debrasor on Discord says, I mean, it's been common enough for my main DM to just use no roll, just max damage for me to get the book rules wrong during Adventure League. Yeah, if there's a rule that if there's a house rule that your group uses long enough, it's very easy to forget that that's not an actual rule.
Yeah.
Stiltskin Koopo 84 says, I've heard double max damage. I've heard max damage plus extra roll. I've heard double roll damage. I've heard simply describe your kill.
Sure.
Collins B says, the best crit rule, of course. Everyone is obligated to make air horn noises. Floofy Shoob says, max damage plus roll. That way you never run into the dreaded double one. At least better than the best damage you could have possibly done without the crit. 00 Jiminy Cricket says, I like automatic max damage because it makes everything easy and fast, but also really like max damage plus dice roll damage. So yeah, it's kind of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
See What Scribe says, in my games, we use the same rules as Floofy Shoob. So that was the max damage plus roll.
Cool.
Dr. Taco 86 says, I played in one game that used a critical roll table. It got pretty messy pretty quickly. My character was crippled for a few weeks with half speed, and another party member lost a limb. I think it was non-dominant arm. We had some pretty awesome monster and enemy kills, but it was certainly a tough campaign to survive. And just one more. Black Magus 2651 says, in 3 and 3.5, it felt overly complicated, so if you threat a crit, you got it. Max damage if you could confirm with the second roll. Also, if the AC was too high, if you rolled crit range, it counted as a normal hit, which for me happened a lot due to Scimitar with the add-ons and feats. My crit range was 20 to 12 or something crazy like that.
That's cool, actually. Yeah, where if you wouldn't have hit, it doesn't crit, but it does hit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I remember another thing about when playing with Chris, because they did with, they had you roll the D6 once and just multiply it. They also got rid of confirming. So if you rolled a threat, it was automatically a crit.
Yeah.
Which was cool when, similarly, I was rolling like, a 12 to 20 thing. But then that also meant, no, enemies could do the same thing. Also, double 20s was an automatic kill. Never happened to us, but that meant if you fight a bunch of enemies, they could very easily just roll a 20 and then a second 20 and you'd be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a double-edged sword in multiple ways. So that was our last social media question. Thank you, everybody who wrote in. Our next social media question, describe your gaming space.
Ooh.
I guess technically not a question, but, so whatever your gaming space is, whatever space you either do play in or the last space that you did play in, what is it like? Is it your basement? Is it a friend's basement? Is it a coffee shop? If you're playing on Roll20, what's your computer space like, I guess? I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to get people to describe the area that they play in.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can, you can send pictures too. But
that would be cool.
Yeah. We won't be able to share them on the podcast, but
sure. I mean, I could hold them up to the microphone.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have one you'd like to describe?
My current space that I'm in right now is the place I play games and, sometimes play tabletop games over the internet. I mean, I have, so over the years, I've like sort of made a little office kind of, I guess.
Okay.
I've put some soundproofing on the walls. Like there's a, bit of like the foam stuff, but
acoustic
then I've also put moving blankets and just stapled them staple gun them to the walls. And in fact, it actually works pretty good. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot cheaper than filling out an entire wall with acoustic foam.
Yeah.
I have my old desk behind me, and then in front of me I just have a table where I have all my computer stuff on.
Sure.
But like I've basically taken the corner of my basement and turned it into a nice little cozy gaming space, and like I'm very proud of it. It is my happy place. It's where I keep all my fun little toys and gadgets.
Yeah.
But yeah, not like I spend a lot of time down here, and I've played a lot of fun games down here. So I don't know.
Cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to your house because due to COVID and everything. But
right.
I remember seeing it on when you do like a video game stream.
Yeah.
And yeah, your little area, at least what the camera shows, looks pretty cozy and pretty cool.
Yeah, like it's not huge, and I don't need a lot of space. But I got like a curtain set up, so I'm fully enclosed. So even though the basement gets pretty cold because it's an enclosed enough area, like
Sure.
And I got a computer running in here, it doesn't get too cold. So
yeah.
But no, it's cool.
I guess for me, I'll describe my computer area. So I've got a bookcase to my left with D&D books handy. I've got like a bunch of miniatures that I've printed. I've got some Gundams on the top of the bookshelf as well. Mm-hmm. Behind my computer on the wall, I do have acoustic panels. I've got a few acoustic panels around the room. But then I have a bunch of like achievements of mine. I've got like I have my theater achievement award from high school. I've got a senior music award from high school. I think that's my diploma. I have a 5-year certificate for working on my current job. I've got an award that my wife gave me for a play that I was in. I've got a page from a book that Emeril Lagasse signed. Emeril Lagasse, the celebrity chef.
Wait, is it his book?
I believe it was his book. I believe it was his book. Somebody got him to sign it and then donated it to the library. And so what Lisa did was she tore out that page and she wrote around the signature so that it looks like Emeril was talking directly to me. It says, "To Gabe, I'm still amazed that you are better at cooking than me." And then it's his signature.
Oh my goodness.
I've got an on the air sign that lights up between all of those right above my computer. On my wall to my right, I have this Dark Souls painting that somebody made. I mean, it's not an actual painting, it's a print, but it's this really big cool, like diorama thing that's representing most of the areas of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I used to have behind me a big shelf with all like my tools and stuff on it, but when I got a VR headset, I moved that out of here so I'd have more room to move around.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the back wall is just a big blank wall. So it looks kind of blank in here, but I mean, theoretically I could be doing VR in that space. So
right.
It's worth it, I guess. And that's pretty much, there isn't really much else here. I've got like a couple stuffed dinosaurs on the floor next to me. My closet has a bookcase in it because I had to move another bookcase so I would have more VR space. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm looking around trying to see if there's a window to my left. I didn't mention that. Yeah.
It's where all the outside noises come from when we used to record in the summer.
I guess. Yeah. Hopefully that was in any way interesting to listen to.
Sure.
I apologize if it was not.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what some of our listeners have to say about their gaming space. You know, just go hog wild. Describe whatever you want. The worst thing that happens is we don't read it on the show, but we still read it on social media.
Right.
So that'll do it for our questions for today. But before we close out, twilight has fallen. The beasts have been slain. The townspeople have been saved. Your job is done. It is time to set your armor down in the retirement village. So yeah, we have a retirement village for today. We haven't done one of these in a while. We probably won't do another one for a long time. So as we said in our like episode 200 or whatever, if you have any ideas for things that we can do for this segment, just send us in whatever you want us to do, and we'll consider it. So today's retirement village is actually the end of a saga. So we have done several stories from Peace Story Pancakes about the various characters that she played in her Pendragon campaign.
Oh yeah.
And today's story is I believe the conclusion of those separate stories.
Cool.
So Peace Story Pancake says, after the untimely death of the Salisbury lads, our Pendragon campaign steered hard left, and we found ourselves on the other side as the antagonists. We now played characters from Aquitaine under Queen Idris' command. Horrible French accents and other shenanigans ensued. Oh, I know all about horrible French accents, as does everybody who listened to last week's episode. Sir Florence, Lady Celestine, and Lady Anne were quite successful in their endeavors. They killed the Goblin King, freed Squire Starr, captured a Wizard King, poisoned the Duchess of Salisbury, flirted left and right, all the while looking fashionable doing it. Lady Anne even managed to find love in their troops' leader, Sir Gill. All this led to one fateful confrontation. In the middle of the battle, they stood against King Nantaloud and his guards. Sir Florence and Lady Celestine were quickly and brutally slaughtered in front of Lady Anne's eyes. Always having had a tender heart and a deep interest in the arts, she decided she was quite done being a knight. She married Sir Gill and presumably lived happily ever after.
Ooh.
So yeah, I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Lady Anne, Sir Gil, and all of those that were lost along the way, as we say, thank you for the wonderful stories. Clink. All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned in the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict. We're on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict. We're on our Interparty Discord, and we're on Twitter at InPartyConflict. Check those out for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on the podcatcher of your choice. We're on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you want to support the show monetarily, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games, such as Binding of Isaac, which, Gabe, isn't there a new DLC coming out for it?
There is. It just came out on PC. It's not coming out on Switch for a little while. I have it on PC. I have the game on PC, but I haven't played it nearly as much as I have on the Switch, so I think I'm going to wait until the Switch version comes out.
Gotcha.
I might cave and just get it anyway. I guess we'll see. I've still got 4 more days of this break, so
sure.
So we'll see.
But you know, maybe we'll bring back the Binding of Isaac playthrough again.
That would be pretty cool.
Cool. Or if you want to watch me play games live, I sometimes stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/tiltedturtle.
There you go. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So, Jeff, until next time.
But Gabe, what if I turned you into a sheep and then made a shirt out of your wool?
I don't like this question one bit.